Hey folks, how are you doing today? Happy Thursday. I am Joe Hafner from Hafner Real Estate, and my mission is to help people like you achieve your real estate goals. And today on our Q&A, we're going to talk about assessed value, appraised value, and market value. A lot of people get confused what those three things mean, but before we get to that, I just want to thank you for joining me. Thank you for watching. Do me a favor, show you care, and give us a share. Share, tag somebody on the post if this is something that would benefit them. If someone's selling a house, that's really important information that sometimes people get confused. If you think this content is valuable, share it on your wall and let people see it. Like I said, my mission is to help people achieve their real estate goals. And the way I do that is I take my almost 25 years of experience in this business, thousands of transactions I've been involved with, and I share answers to questions that I get regularly as I go about doing the real estate business. So this is all stuff that people are asking me, and I share it because an educated consumer is going to be a better consumer. And if you are buying a house or selling a house or buying investment property or making real estate related decisions, the more knowledge you have of how things work, the better decisions you're going to make for you and your family. So if you are currently working with an agent who is not slowing down and giving you details and answering questions, or sometimes there's people out there that make you feel stupid for asking a question. So don't ever feel stupid for asking a question. If you can't get the question answered from your agent, give me a call, send me a text, a private message. I will be happy to answer whether you're working with me or not. And so let's take a look at this real quick here. So we want to talk about assessed value, appraised value, and market value. So when you're going to sell a house, or when you're going to buy a house for that matter, there's some different ways that people value the house. A lot of the time, you'll see people, they'll talk about the assessed value of the house, which is the value for the purposes of taxes. It's the value that the county and the city place on the property, and they use that as a tool to decide how much in taxes they're going to collect on that property. So your assessed value is the value that the municipality puts on the property to determine how much in taxes they're going to collect in property taxes. And that is probably the most inaccurate value in terms of what you would get for a house if you went to sell it. So the assessor for, let's take Rutherford County here in Middle Tennessee, where I'm located. If the assessor in Rutherford County is going to look at property to try and determine what they're worth for tax purposes, he doesn't go do an appraisal of the house. He doesn't even go into the house. He'll do basically a drive-by. He might measure the outside of the house, and then he's going to determine based on that what he doesn't even know for sure how big the house is, the square footage. I mean, if you go look at the tax records, you'll see that the square footage that's on the assessment rolls is quite often way off. And that's because that assessor, he only can look at the outside of the house. So he's going to look at the outside of the house, he's going to do a few things, and then he's going to come up with an assessed value. And like I said, that assessed value is probably not a fair amount to consider that your house would likely sell for. They're usually not very close to what it would sell for. So the assessed value, if you're thinking of selling your house or you want to know what your house quote unquote is worth, that assessed value is probably the least likely to give you what you're looking for. Then there's appraised value, okay? So the appraised value, that's the value that a licensed appraiser, that their opinion of what that house is worth based on, appraisers use several different methods to figure out the value of a house. They'll come up with a replacement value, what it would cost to rebuild that house. But they can come up with a value as a rental property, what that house is worth as a investment property. But the main thing that they do, the main way they come up with value, the one that's the most valid, is the comparison approach. So what they're going to do is they're going to look at other houses similar to yours. They're going to look at houses that are currently on the market for sale, your competition to sell. They're going to look at houses that have already sold recently, the comps, that are most similar to your house, and they're going to take all that information, and they have some formulas they use to make houses conform to each other and be able to make adjustments to the comps that they're looking at to make that house more like yours. For instance, if your house has 4 bedrooms and the house he's looking at has 3 bedrooms, he might do an adjustment on that comp and add $5,000 to the value of that comp, so that would be more in line with what it would be if that house had 4 bedrooms like your house does. But don't want to get too deep in the weeds with all that. So he's going to look at all these comps, and he's going to come up with a value that he believes your house is worth. Now, an appraised value is going to be pretty close to what a house would likely sell for, unless it's a unique house or has unique features or that sort of thing. But here's some things to keep in mind. Number one, the appraised value is not the value, is not the market value. The appraised value is one person's opinion of what that house's value is, what that house is worth. Number two, appraisals in a market that's going up are often going to be a little lower than what that house would actually sell for. And the reason for that is appraisals are required to look backward at what's already happened. So other houses, as that market, like in the last several years, our market has been going up at a pretty steep rate, right? So if in fact, over the last couple of years, 2 of the last 3 years, we've appreciated almost 10% in Middle Tennessee. So if that market's going up at a rate of almost 1% a month, and I'm looking at comps that closed last month or in the last 6 months, well, my appraised value might come in 1, 2, 3, 6% less than what the house would actually sell for in the current market. So there's limitations to what appraised value will give you, right? So that appraised value, it's going to be in an appreciating market, it's going to be a little lower than what the house would actually sell for, right? And in a decreasing market, it's going to be a little higher. We saw this during the recession. A lot of people, they sold their house at the height of the market, and the market was already coming down when they got their appraisal, and it had no problem appraising because the market was going down and values were going down. They were getting lower and lower offers. So the appraisal was coming in after the fact, and it was higher because those appraisals were looking backwards at properties that were generally selling at a higher price. But in the current market, it's very common when you sell a house, if there's an appraisal involved, for that appraisal to come in low if there's been a lot of competition for purchasing that house, which is why when you're selling a house, the offer price, how much the person is offering for the house, is not always the best offer. The one that offers the most is not always the best offer. We'll talk about that on another Q&A on another day. So that appraised value is one person's opinion of what that house is worth. There's another value, it's called a broker price opinion. That's a real estate agent who basically goes through many of the same processes that an appraiser goes through to give you what's called a BPO, a broker price opinion, which is that agent's opinion of where that house should be priced to go on the market. Again, that's one real estate agent's opinion of what that house should be priced at, what it should sell for. So there's times where that broker price opinion, if that agent is way more experienced than the appraiser, that it's a more accurate depiction than what the appraiser came up with, right? So then we've got the market value. And if you really want to know what your house is worth, the only way to know is to go to the market and find out the market value. So put quite simply, market value is what a willing buyer is willing to pay for a house and a willing seller is willing to accept for the house. When those two come together, that's the market value. So nobody can tell you what the market value is until you have a deal on the house. People can speculate what they believe the market value will be, but there is nobody who can predict that 100%, because until the house is actually on the market and the market comes to see the house and someone makes an offer, we don't know what that house is going to sell for. We don't know what that market value is. Of course, these other things are tools that can help you determine the market value. So what you want to do is that appraised value, you probably shouldn't use that to figure out what your home is actually worth. I'm sorry, the assessed value. The assessed value that they use for tax purposes, that is not the best way to figure out what your home is worth. If you want to get an idea of what your house would sell for, an appraisal is probably not the way to go there. See, the appraiser's job is to come up with a value that he can defend for, because appraisals are typically ordered by the bank to protect themselves, to make sure they're not lending way more money than what they think the house is worth. So an appraiser can get you close to what the market value may be. It's typically, in the market we're in currently, where values are going up, it's typically has the best chance of appraised value or broker price opinion of that value coming in a little bit lower than what the market will actually bring. And then, of course, like I said, we have the broker price opinion, where that's going to look more currently at the competition. In an appreciating market, a BPO looks more at what's your competition and where do you need to be for your house to beat out the other houses like yours that are currently on the market, right? So we're more concerned when we put a house on the market is, who is our competition and how are we going to get the buyers to come and make an offer on ours? And if the market is going up in value, you can go a little bit higher than some of the other competition. You just need to look at, and we can talk about this another day, getting to absorption rates and months of inventory that are on the market, and use all that as a tool to figure out where your house needs to be slotted in price compared to the competition that's out there. In a market that's going down, now you need to be the best price house for the money compared to the competition in the marketplace. So it's really important to know who else is out there, how long they've been on the market, what they're asking for the house. All those things are factors that are going to help you determine where you should price your house if you put it on the market. And people who list their house, when I work with them, we go through all of that so that we can give them the best chance to get the highest possible price for their house. So that your assessed value is from the tax records, and it's based on how your house will be taxed. The appraised value is what an appraiser comes up with. That's one person's opinion of what that value will be. And then the market value is the actual value of your house based on a willing buyer coming and bringing you the money to pay for that house when you sell it. So market value is where it's at. The only way to know what the market value is to put your house on the market and get an offer and get it closed. So there we go. That's the three different kinds of value: assessed, appraised, market. What's the difference? Now you know. Knowledge is power. Use it. Show you care. Give us a share. Tell your friends and family about this. Help me to achieve my mission of helping people like you achieve their real estate goals by sharing this and letting other people become educated consumers to be able to be more knowledgeable and more effective and really watch out for themselves as they're buying and selling real estate. So we'll get back with you next week. Hope you have a great day. Those of you who are watching live, you know Memorial Day weekend is coming in a couple of days. I hope you have a great Memorial Day weekend, and please don't forget the reason why we have Memorial Day. Take a moment to remember those who gave everything for our country, and just pray blessings on them and their families, so that we just appreciate what the veterans do to secure our freedom as a country. And I never want to forget that. So have a great Memorial Day weekend, and spend some time thinking and praying for those folks who are overseas serving our country, for the people who gave it all for our country. And we'll see you next time. Have a great weekend.